we're back to talk about perhaps my favorite module of all, the coaching app. Honestly, when I first got my Healy, I had no idea that what this was, how to use it, and that it was even part of Healy. And so my mind was absolutely blown. I think it actually took you or Sarah saying something like, "Put it in your Healy," when I was working on my big business project, and she's like, "Put the confessions into your Healy." I was like, "What do you mean?" What? I didn't know that I could use it like that.
Yeah. And I will just say that I didn't discover the coaching analysis until months into having a Healy. Because you can put things in like confessions as a client and scan it for a resonance analysis and send frequencies to it. But the coaching analysis takes it a step further. This is where we're really sitting with our intentions, where we're getting to sit down and say, okay, let me block out 10, 15 minutes today to be with what I desire. What is it that I'm calling in? What is my North Star? You get to put that into the coaching analysis, as we'll walk you through here in a second, and receive the frequencies to align you with that vision that you're putting into the coaching analysis. It's phenomenal. And it's just an opportunity to be with your North Star, to really be with it, to align to it. I wish I had discovered it sooner.
I like to think of the coaching app as a way for us to bring our blind spots into awareness. And even though I feel like I'm a pretty self-aware person, the coaching app has just been like it has blown my mind so many times that I will look at the results, and we'll see what happens in a moment, but I'll look at the results, and again, initially I may have this reaction like, this doesn't resonate with me. What is this? Like, why is stuff coming? Why is my father showing up in this, in the result? Like, I love my dad. Everything is good. And then I'm like, oh yeah, there's stuff in my closet, in the closet. What we're seeing is the picture behind the facade. It's a way to access meet what could use some work on the unconscious level. And it's also a way of clearing discordant energies from our field. I love thinking of Healy and the coaching app as a way that we can kind of look in the mirror, but it doesn't just look in the mirror, it looks in the closet to see what issues are relevant in your life, what should be addressed. Just like with the other Healy programs, perhaps even more so with this one, the results of the coaching analysis always depend on the intentions of all the individuals involved. So to give you an example, I was doing some distant sessions for friends, and then I got this crazy cold and was in bed. And so I decided that I'm actually not going to do these sessions while I myself, my level of well-being is not at an optimal level, because our state and our intentions really do affect the outcome. And I already mentioned this. So the quantum sensor in relation to the coaching app really does pick up our intentions, and in the way that it examines real life situations. So just as you cannot have the same thought twice under the same circumstances, in quantum physics, that's called the observer effect. Meaning you could put in the same intention the next day and get a totally different feedback from the quantum. And the vibrate function, which you saw earlier in the resonance analysis, acts as a positive amplifier to support the focus that comes up. If you want to know more about how to do distance sessions in a more professional way, there are deeper trainings on this on YouTube and in Healy Academy. This is just a really quick overview. The very first time that I used the coaching app was actually at a Healy retreat in Florida. And I remember I was sitting around the table with a few friends, and I put in Aluna as a client. So I was in Florida, my family back in Costa Rica, and Aluna had been going through some challenging times at the little Waldorf school. She's 3 years old, 3.5. So I put her in, and I think my intention was, and the intention, by the way, needs to be in present moment, in present tense, like an I am statement. And we'll show you an example in a moment. So my intention was something like, I am vibrant and in perfect harmony with my siblings, parents, teachers, and peers, like something, something like that. So I pressed vibrate again. I'm very far away, and I don't know what happened in that moment. I went on with the retreat. Upon coming back to Costa Rica, one of the teachers had a birthday party, and we hadn't seen each other in a while. And she said, Katya, I don't know what you guys are doing at home, but Aluna's been like a totally different child. And I felt a little guilty. I was like, oh, I actually haven't been home. I don't know how we're doing. And then immediately I was like, wait a second. When did you start noticing a difference in her behavior? I pulled out a calendar on my phone, and she pinpointed it to the exact day that I vibrated that intention through the coaching app to Aluna. My mind was blown. Basically, a perfect segue to be like, do you want to buy a Healy? But I literally pulled up my lists on my phone, and I showed her that was the exact same day that I vibrated the frequency to Aluna.
Did she buy a Healy is the question.
Not yet.
Wow, that's a really powerful story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Do you have an intention? You want to
Do
talk
I
a
have
bit
an
about
intention?
how you craft intentions?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we did an example like this with Freya, and she just put in I am happy as her intention. And I just kept telling everybody, you want it to be detailed as possible, with dates if you can, times if you can. And the other two things that you want it to be is in the positive and in the present. So, for example, you could say, I am happy, but you could say, I am on vacation with my family in Mexico. And getting there is easeful in Mexico. And we could say this December 2022. And getting there is easeful. And the trip is wonderful for all of us.
Mm-hmm. When I write intentions, there are a lot of and.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes on for many lines. And one piece of advice from Annie was that it's best not to put a period at the end of your intention so that the energy can flow.
Exactly.
Well, I've been doing that and not cutting the energy off with punctuation.
Yeah.
That feel
And
complete.
so I wonder what it'll say, because I did have to cancel our trip to go to Mexico because we're all sick, but I might still rebook it. Fingers crossed. And so we'll see. We'll see how this is something that I would desire for us. So
Yeah, so this is a really great
coach me up here.
okay. This is a great example of something super specific that's happening. This is a situation that's happening in real time. Of course, it can be much broader, like I magnetize the perfect women onto my Healy team who are in exceptional energetic alignment. We enjoy great communication, laughter, memes, and abundant financial flow. Like it could be something like that, or things that you're manifesting in the new year, or
Yeah, things that you're manifesting for the new year are great to start doing now. I want something that I've constantly been putting into my Healy are I allow wealth and abundance to flow through me with ease, and am making a certain number per month. So 10K a month consistently, or whatever you want it to be. And, sending yourself the frequencies for that.
right, right. Important to craft, it is very important to craft your intention well. You don't want to write something like, I want to be in love in 2023. Instead, you want to say, I am in a wonderful, supportive relationship. Like you want to speak as though this is a reality already.
The present tense is important, and to keep it in the positive too. So, you know how they say, um, there's that one funny thing that if you tell pilots not to crash, the higher incidence of them crashing, you want to tell them, just, steer clear or go this way instead. So you really want to keep your affirmations. This is basically like an affirmation. You want to keep it in the positive as much as possible. So instead of saying, I do not go to so and so, you say, I am in, and you write what it is that you are calling, as opposed to what you are not.
On the screen here, we have the databases. You'll notice they look very different than the ones in the pink app. So we've got career, emotional balance, family relationships, finances, goals, personal relationships, potential self-worth, social relationships, and spirituality. And within those, so let's just take a peek at personal relationships. You can see what's inside. Finding a partner, self-love and altruism, and trust. And if you go into those deeper, you'll see here are the actual intentions that may come up for you. So now that we've taken a look at the way that the databases are structured, let's ask Fernanda what she feels is most relevant, what databases, because we do want to pick, I would say, I mean, I often just click all of them.
I click all of them.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. Because sometimes I don't. And then I'm like, oh, but I wonder what it would have said if I had clicked all of them. So I just always click all of them.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to click career. If you just click one time, it's going to automatically select one option out of that entire database for you. For emotional balance, considering the kind of intention Fernanda has, why don't we do 3 just to see what'll happen? So if we're feeling like the intention has to do, let's say, with emotional balance, or if your intention is career focused, you might want to change that number to give you more results from that database. And it's between 1 and 20 results. So if you, let's see, want it to work on something that has to do with your spiritual transformation, and you wanted a lot of results, you could technically, I've never done 20. It's just too much information. Okay. So here we are, we've selected the databases. For most of them, it was just the default 1. And for fun, to show you that you can choose more databases, we've chosen 3 for emotional balance. Here we are, start analysis.
I'm nervous.
Well,
I'm nervous because,
really,
oh my gosh.
for you, it's really relevant for you in this moment right now.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's take a peek at them, and then we'll go through what the extra numbers and letters mean. Individual qualities. I grow into my perfect wholeness by developing and harmonizing my personal quality speed. What does that mean to you?
To me, that means I have a lot of things that I have to get done, and I don't have to do them perfectly. I just have to do them. So moving through efficiently.
Right. And there was, now I'm thinking on the Bach flowers one, there was the perfectionism that came up for you.
Oh yeah, big time.
I,
It's funny. I accept my desire and consciously deal with it because I do want to go to Mexico, but I'm like, but should I? Because there's all these other things that I need to do. So it's like, what's your desire? Do you really want this or not? To design.
so again, some of them are not going to make perfect sense for you. And I don't waste too much time trying to decipher what it means. Because again, we're talking about a very limited way that English words can describe the family of frequencies that the quantum sensor has found for you.
Oh my gosh, but this to me is to a T because it's, my the desired state to design. I have to craft the days. I have to like figure out what the Airbnbs, all of it's all about designing the trip. And then here it's saying, I realize that by my lack of integrity, I am betraying my mind and undermining my self-image. So interesting because when I first got a Healy, I said one of my goals is to fly my entire family down to Mexico. And so this trip is so much more than a family vacation to be with family in Mexico. It's something that I said I wanted and I want to make happen. So whether we don't go because we're sick or we're healing or whatever, it's just beautiful insights from the Healy here.
In integrity with your word.
Exactly. It's a
And
lot of information, you see. It's a lot. This is the beautiful thing about, oh, sorry, you were saying something, Katya.
yeah, and I mean, this is really personal too. I mean, some of these things, right, have to do with a lot of details surrounding this that, like a lot of context that you might not want to explain on the call, but that are meaningful to you.
Exactly. As I was just going to say, as I'm reading this, I'm like, you need to send me this in PDF form, please, so I can look at it later. But, this is one of the things about this blue app scan, the coaching information that you're getting is so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sit with all of this and really, use it to help me anchor into my vision of what is possible here. So,
Right, right. So let's
yeah.
just take a quick walk through what those numbers and letters mean. If you have homeopathy experience, this might have some, ring some bells for you. There's something that is called D potency, C potency, and LM. For example, in this top one, we see LM. D potency is related to what's happening in the physical. It's the most dense, most anchored, maybe stuff that's repressed since childhood, and that which you most feel. Let's see if there's any D ones. CLM. Okay, there's a D1 for emotional balance, energy, and power. Okay, so there's something to do with power struggles that may mean something to you. And then the number that's next to it is called the dilution level. 1 to 60 is related to incoherence in actions. Between 100 and 400, and don't worry, I'm going to show you a really cool chart which you can have so you don't have to memorize this. Between 1 and 400, incoherence in thought pattern. Between 1,000 and 2,000, incoherence in chosen lifestyle or lack of trust. And anything in the super high numbers like 10,000 to 100,000 is incoherence in a life theme. So the way in the generally that you address finances, relationships, work. There's also a way to tell whether any of these patterns show up related to your family, parents, grandparents, or whether it's ancestral. LM, so we talked about D, C potency. Let's see if there's any C ones. Did you see C? Okay, there's C. C is in the emotional body. is related to the emotional charge not expressed when the event happened. So this is where Healy frequencies will help, but it's your body and your being that needs to express it. So what's the example here? I experience the power to understand and implement the following focus for my benefit and for the benefit of whole attack. Okay, so the fact that it's C potency is giving us insight into the level at which this is happening. So in this case, this is not a physical attack. This is attack related to something happening in the emotional body. And lastly, LM. We've seen LM. In terms of potency, those are the three categories that are going to come up. D, C, or LM. LM is mental and spiritual. Often stuff that is based on erroneous, outdated belief systems. It's really good background information. It's like you've released the emotional charge, but you keep thinking the same thoughts. Anybody relate to that? This is the realm of reprogramming your beliefs to transmute the pattern. So for me, when I look at coaching stuff, this is the juicy, because oftentimes, like when even watching how Fernanda reacted to this list, she's like, yep, this, I totally understand what this is, what that is. With LM, it's really interesting because even though we are aware of something that's going on, we might not be able to energetically release that pattern and align to that original blueprint, which is where frequency medicine and working with these intentions through the Healy can be so powerful. And I've noticed that in my own life, there are patterns where I'm just like, why do I keep doing that again? Why do I keep catching myself thinking that same thought? I don't want to be thinking that thought. I thought I worked through this already. Why is this showing up for me again? And this has been the biggest shift working with the coaching app for me, is in the realm of well, actually all of them, but specifically in LM. When you see LM stuff coming up, it's like, okay, it's time to reprogram the beliefs that are not serving me. Yeah. And
Wow.
and so yeah, it's
Send it to me, babe. Vibrate it. I need it.
I know. Oh no.
That's not true. I don't need it, but I do value it.
You also see a number. So on the screen right now, 8 is rolling by, 4, 3. That's the intensity. Basically, how important is it for me to look at this right now? If it's 8, look at it. If it's like you see like 2, 2, 3, 4, it's there. It's the cocktail is being delivered to Fernanda, but it's not super relevant. I'll tell you a quick story. In my healing crisis, so I was healing from my surgery, and also I got hit with, I don't know if it was a cold, a flu, an upgrade, a healing crisis. I don't know what it was. I'm just on the other side of it now. But I was doing everything on my Healy that I could. I was running every kind of program, and there were moments that I wanted to throw my Healy against the wall because I just wanted relief, some kind of relief. And as we learn and as we develop our relationship with Healy, we realize that sometimes we really need to just sit with it and move through whatever is happening. And so I used the coaching function. Can't remember what my intention was, but the first thing that came up, and it was like 8 intensity, LM, so mental spiritual based on erroneous beliefs. And it was really intense. I'd never seen this kind of a result before. It said something about fear of death, extreme agitation, moving through fear, lack of trust, just like really intense stuff. And I remember thinking, hang on, Healy, what are you talking about? I'm just laying in bed. Yes, I'm recovering from surgery, but I'm cool. I'm sipping my ginger tea. It's all good. And I didn't even press the vibrate function at the time because I really did not resonate with what Huey came up with. That night, I had a panic attack. Oh yeah, it said stuff, something panic attack. And I'm like, I've never had a panic attack in my whole entire life. I don't like have anxiety stuff that I deal with on a regular basis. What is this panic attack stuff? I had a panic attack that night, so not 12 hours later when this came up in my field, and I dismissed it completely. I ended up having a real panic attack because I couldn't breathe and none of my nasal sprays were giving me relief. I felt like I was in a coffin and I could breathe through a straw. That's how I felt because I was so congested. And so I don't know if it was partly mold as well. Whatever it was, it felt like there was cement in my sinuses. And it was maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Um, and I was like, gosh, maybe I should have vibrated. Maybe it wouldn't have been as intense if I would have actually pressed the vibrate function on what came up in the search. But it was just wild. Like sometimes you think like, what is coming up for me? But you just never know. And there's of course so many facets to this, so many variables that are really unique to you. Um, yeah, and I remember seeing that was like an 8 or 9 intensity for me, meaning look at this. Look at this right now. So for you, definitely some food for thought there.
I love that. Send it to me if you can
Okay.
to see how to do it.
Oh, stop. So to send this to Fernanda, I would share it, and I have her right there. So I'm just sending it right now through WhatsApp. Takes just a quick moment.
Received.
So while that's happening, I will also show you what I've got in my photos. Okay, if I go to albums, if you don't already have a Healy album, it's a really good idea to start one on your phone. And so what I have here are a couple of screenshots from a video that I watched on all of this stuff. And here we have the energy reading color scale. So for Fernanda, most or no, all of it, and for myself as well, I've only seen green color come up and sometimes black. So apparently, if the text that you're seeing is green, that means that the energy is harmonized. Pretty nice. So this is what I was talking about, the intensity level. Um, what wants to be looked at 1 through 10. So this is talking about the chakra because it's essentially the same for the aura analysis. And the dilution level, for those of you who are visual, DCOM. The numbers that come after the letters. So there you go. And I think there's one more. Okay, and this is interesting. Sometimes these numbers will come up and it will give you insight into what's actually attached to this pattern. Is it ancestral family? And even to the degree, does it come from your parents? Does it come from their parents? It's so, so fascinating. Or is it something that's coming from other lifetimes that wants to be looked at? And it's maybe an irrational fear or something that doesn't resonate with your life in this moment. Is it showing up from something unprocessed? Okay, so that was a whole session essentially that we did for
Yeah.
Fernanda. And you could do this with someone in real time. You could light candles and do this as a part of any other energetic modality. Or I do this for my parents who are in Canada. A very important note is on consent here. You never want to use the coaching app unless you have expressed consent from the person. The only exceptions to this is, I would say, your children, your pets, um, your like really close loved ones. And of course, your intentions are, we know that your intentions are super pure. But if it's something that like you think that your husband needs to work on something, or you're trying to like manifest something for them that is against the universal laws and are frowned upon. So don't do that.
Not good.
Focus on yourself. And when you are a clear channel and vibrating this magnetic harmony, that will inspire harmony in others. Or ask for permission before you do it.
Yeah. I think that's the important part, is just ask for permission.
Yeah. Anything you want to add? How did that feel for you?
I feel good. I honestly, I didn't realize that you were going to be scanning me. No, I'm just kidding. I love that the Healy has this in the Blue app. It provides such useful information for us. So there's so much to be learned of ourselves and the many layers of ourselves through this. So it's just a neat way to explore our individual processes in life. I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful for this scan.
Yeah. I'm trying to find. Yeah. Here's an example. So this is a real intention that I pulled up from my lists. And so I don't have to rewrite this again whenever I feel I want to connect with this energy and bring this into my experience, into my alignment. I can just vibrate it. And so I've been doing that on a daily basis. And so this one says there are powerful matriarchs in my field who are praying for exactly what Healy brings into their life and who get into alignment and fly with it and become wildly successful in this network marketing business, in addition to experiencing extraordinary shifts in their life and health as a result of their relationship with the Healy frequency device. And I feel supported and celebrated by them. And I am vice president by the end of December 2022, and I am joyful and triumphant and graceful and at ease. So when I was sharing with you earlier that I'm like, and then I don't put a period so that the energy flows. And I mean, it's a ridiculous sentence, right? But I decided that it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that about adding the ands. Annie taught me. We actually did this beautiful thing on well, I can't remember. It was the autumn equinox where we wrote out our intentions in one huge long sentence with no periods and just ands. It was really beautiful to see our intention written out in that way, just kind of spun and woven. We get to do the exact same thing on our Healy device.
Right, right. And so just wanted to bring this up super quickly as an example in contrast to what we just did for Fernanda, and look how completely different the results are. So for me, okay, harmonizing helpfulness. I let them flow without judgment or obstructions. So emotional stuff. There's energy and power. Okay, this is an interesting one here. I experienced the power to understand and implement the following focus for my benefit and for the benefit of the whole to become independent. And so there's really interesting conversations that are happening around like, how do we step into leadership and have relationships that are harmonious and not codependent? So all of this was like, oh, straight on.
Yeah. And also in this business that had to do with your focus, in this sort of business, you don't want people to be dependent on you. You want them to be standing alone and creating their own lineages. And that is what gets you to the rank of vice president, and what gets you to be wildly successful in this is that they're anchored in themselves under you.
There's the team spirit that comes up, which I haven't seen come up in any other context.
I've never seen that before. I love it.
Yeah.
Team spirit. Go team.
Mm-hmm.
career planning. Well, these are all really cool.
Mhm. Super relevant. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
gonna go ahead and vibrate that for us. Okay, so have fun with it. That's about it for the coaching analysis. Put your Instagram in there, put your kids in there, put your pets in there. You could put a plant in there and see what happens.
Your
Um,
bank account.
ooh, yeah, really, really interesting. And we are going to Glastonbury soon, and I'm really excited to play with the function of recording the vibration of something. So I really wish I knew about this function when I was in Egypt because it would have been really amazing to record the vibration of some of the sacred places where I was. But just when we were putting in you as a client, you could record the vibration of a place. Yeah. So really, sky's the limit here.
Exactly.
Yeah. What have been the biggest shifts for you that you've noticed? Is there an example or two that come to mind using the coaching module specifically?
I mean, is there something that comes to mind using the coaching module specifically? My whole entire life has shifted.
Just no big deal.
just a little, just a little because of Healy and working with Healy. And I know, we can't make any claims to anything. So I'm only speaking from my personal experience, but, um, I just ended up hitting vice president in Healy. That was in my coach app. I'm making a certain amount of money a month now. That number has been in my coach app. Um, I mean, maybe I'll end up in Mexico after this scan. Maybe I'll rebook our flight today. If the kids are all better, I'm better. Maybe we will make it. That just went in, and I'm feeling more into it than I was before. It's interesting to kind of sit with the subtleness of this all, because it can be very subtle. It can be really subtle, and sometimes you'll just kind of turn around and you realize that you've climbed a mountain and didn't even know you were doing that in the process. And that's kind of how this feels sometimes, because this process of manifestation, it's not just looking at something that you want and going for it. It's every day doing these different layers of inner work to kind of get there. And so I notice in my process what's happened since I've had the Healy, and specifically since I started using the coaching analysis, that it just all kind of sped up. It quantum leaped, if that makes sense. It moved quicker. I do have some interesting stories though, where I put my this is one. I put my Instagram in as a client, and I said something about how I have a very engaged, my affirmation was something like, I have a very engaged community, and I grow exponentially. And literally the next day I post a reel, and then it's like I'm at 40K views on that reel. I have 300 new followers, and and double the same amount of viewership over the next 3 or 4 days. And you can't say that was the Healy that did that, but also, wow, how interesting that happened. A couple of days right after, it just kind of took off. It took off that happened, and that reel is still going. And my viewers, are messaging me every day now, and before it wasn't. And there's a lot that goes to it.
I love it. I have lots of examples like that too. And I want to mention for anyone who might try this or be in the beginning of their journey with Healy, and if you feel like, well, nothing is happening for me, I don't have an extraordinary story, I didn't get an extra $10,000 in my bank account within 2 seconds of using Healy, or like whatever you kind of stories you've heard, I would think of all of this as like the way that you shower every day as a spiritual practice of cleansing and preparing and removing the debris of the interference that goes on in our life. Or with a meditation practice, it's like somebody who's meditated once or twice and says, I don't feel anything. I haven't experienced a change. In fact, maybe I'm even more agitated sitting in meditation. you need to develop a relationship with these practices. And if you're not used to even writing these kinds of affirmations or intentions, that in itself is a practice. And you don't have to do this coaching stuff, resonance stuff like every day, but do it at least once a week so that you can tune into the subtleties and the nuance of the shifts that you may experience. So you might, yeah, just please be patient. You might not experience big shifts overnight.
Yeah. And then again, too, I just think it's valuable to note that we're all using as many tools as we possibly can to improve the quality of our lives. The Healy is one of many. So, for example, my son was in the hospital with appendicitis, and I was running Healy back to back, meaning I had two Healys. One was on him, and while the other one was charging. I had red light therapy going. We had his homeopathics. He was on antibiotics for the very first time in his entire life. He walked into that hospital with a perforated appendix and walked out with his appendix intact and no surgery. And people, ask me, do you think it was the Healy? And I'm like, well, I think it was a gamut of all the tools. We can't say that this is a cure for anything, but what we do know is that it's just another tool that's adding to the mix. And the same goes for when you're using the resonance analysis or the coaching app. With that information that I just received when we did the coaching analysis, I'm going to sit with that and think about it. And now that I know the different layers to it, I saw something in there about, there's just layers there to my childhood, and there's so much. And with that information, maybe the dreams that I'll be having in the next couple of weeks will have some information for me. There's many layers to our capacity to heal as sovereign beings, and the Healy adds such great information. It adds such great information. And I say information, specifically that word, because it's tapping into the information field. So what do we do with access to that information? What do our cells do when they have access to that information through a cellular current and voltage? We're amplified, we're more vibrant, we're changed. So of course it makes sense to me that using this on a daily basis as our lives can shift how we want them to shift consciously. We have power over that, so have fun using this tool, have lots of fun and also be prepared to go into the depths of what it means to do this work for yourself.
Mm-hmm. We'll see you in the next video and explore aura analysis.